Hello fellow Star Trek fans, welcome back to a brand new episode of 10 Forward with me, your host Mike Overton. This week I am once again joined by my dear friend Jodi Pickens. Jodi, how are you this week?
Doing fantastic.
Now,
more new Trek.
Exactly, more new Trek, which is always a positive. Even if you had a bad week, you can always look forward to some new Trek. Now then, this week we are going to be delving into Season 3, Episode 3 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. The episode is entitled Shuttle to Kenfori, so let's dig in. What begins as a routine mission quickly spirals into a suspense-filled journey filled with moral questions, secret decisions, Klingon confrontations, and a little bit of a race against time. The episode opens quietly, amongst a deceptively so Captain Pike, who's strolling through the Enterprise narrating his personal log about the final days with Captain Batel before she sets off on her own new assignment. But the tranquility ends, and the moment he enters his quarters, he finds Batel collapsed on the floor. She's rushed to sickbay, and Dr. Mbenga delivers, grim news. The invasive Gorn tissue in her system is no longer in remission, and it's back, and it's aggressive. But there could be hope. Dr. Mbenga and the medical team identifies a potential treatment hidden in a rare flower, the Chimera blossom. The problem? Well, as in most normal Star Trek kind of predicaments, the flower only grows on a single planet called, in this case, Kenfori, a once Federation research outpost that is now a no-fly zone after being occupied by the Klingons during the war. Let's face it, it's a diplomatic red zone, and any Starfleet-sanctioned mission there is completely off the table. So Pike proposes something, a little bit off the books. Spock suggests a stealthy away team, just himself and Mbenga, but Pike insists that he will go with Joseph. After all, this is Batel we're talking about. Back on the bridge, the crew is more than willing to help. Una, Ortegas, Uhura, and La'an all contribute to the plan to navigate undetected to the outskirts of Kenfori space. Ortega steers the Enterprise through a dense asteroid field to mask their approach, showing her usual flair for risky maneuvers. Meanwhile, a sense of purpose unites the crew. This is for Batel. In orbit near Kenfori, Pike and Mbenga take the shuttle down to the surface. Along the way, they encounter a Klingon communications beacon disguised as a mine. It warns them to turn back or die, but of course, they push forward. On the surface, the planet is, eerily quiet. There's no visible signs of life, and that includes fauna and flora, and even microbes that you'd expect to be living on the planet in such, bear in mind this planet is lush and very lush of plant life, something is clearly off. The duo researches the ruins of the Starfleet research facility and begin their search. They find the flowers they're looking for, but also the remains of a Klingon soldier with wounds, they're not battle wounds, let's put it like that. It looks like someone devoured him. Tasty. Things go from, strange to terrifying relatively quickly. The Klingons arrive. Shock. The battle cruiser is in orbit and the hunting party is already on the ground. The shuttle Pike and Mbenga arrived in is quickly destroyed and, let's face it, they're trapped. And then this is where the real threat emerges. A group of, zombie-like humanoids, I think is just the easiest way to describe them, attack. They're feral, ravenous, and, nearly unstoppable, and they attack the Klingon hunters, killing one of them and distracting the others, which allows Pike and Mbenga to barely escape with their lives. Back on the Enterprise, Batel is suffering. Spock offers to help her through a Vulcan mind meld, which gives her some temporary relief, but it also reveals something really haunting. Spock sees the Gorn inside of her. The meld nearly takes him over, and Christine has to snap him back into consciousness with a good old slap round the face. What exactly passed between Batel and the Gorn's consciousness is unclear, but the encounter leaves, both her and Spock shaken. Meanwhile, Enterprise senior staff are growing concerned. Pike and Mbenga have missed their check-ins. Comms are down, and Scotty enters the scene with his usual charm and knack for impossible engineering problems. Ortegas is frustrated by the protocol, pushes for high-risk maneuvers. Let's warp into the Kenfori thermosphere, beam them up, and walk back out before the Klingons even know what hit them. Una, ever cautious, reminds them of the border treaties. But Scotty backs up Ortegas with technical solutions that can make the maneuver possible. Una decides that they'll follow Spock's suggestion of approach that will be slow and tedious, but will conceal the Enterprise from the lurking Klingon battlecruiser. Ortegas, well, to be frank, is pissed with this decision and expresses her feelings on the matter. Her behaviour really starts to concern La'an and Una. Tensions build on both fronts. On the surface, Pike and Mbenga learn a horrifying truth. The research team had genetically modified a form of moss with chimera flower DNA to create a kind of like super crop for the colonists. But when the Klingons invaded, as they'd like to do, the experiments went a little awry. The moss turned parasitic, infecting everything on the planet. Those zombies, well, they're the byproduct of a hybrid biomass, eventually devouring to reproduce. But this bioengineering then points to something else. Mbenga reveals that Batel's only chance isn't really a cure, it's a transformation. To survive, she must be kind of like a Gorman, a Gorn human hybrid. And believe it or not, she agreed to it and didn't want to let Pike know. The decision was hers, and she has only days to live. The conversation is cut short by another wave of zombies. Pike and Mbenga take shelter, only to be captured by what quickly becomes a lone Klingon survivor. And here's the twist. She is the daughter of the Klingon ambassador Mbenga killed aboard the Enterprise last season. She's been hunting him to regain her family's honor on the Klingon homeworld. In a moment that flips everything on its head, she reveals that actually she hated her father and that he was a traitor to the Klingon Empire. She wanted to be the one to kill him for honor, but Mbenga, well, beat her to the punch. Her only way to reclaim her name now is to kill Mbenga in ritual combat, but not before Mbenga reveals that he didn't kill the ambassador in self-defense, but that he assassinated. Pike is, well, stunned. Mbenga and the Klingon daughter of the ambassador fight. The battle's brutal. Mbenga ultimately spares her life, declaring that his hands already carry that blood and that he refuses to carry more. She sees his mercy as dishonor, but when the zombie horde descends on them once more, she sacrifices herself in true Klingon fashion, an honorable death, luring the creatures away from Pike and Mbenga so they can escape. Meanwhile, Scotty and the Enterprise crew perform a high-stakes maneuver to beam the away team back aboard. It's a wild ride. Inertial dampeners failing, Klingon battlecruiser firing on them, and Ortegas managing to pilot all the way through it. But they put it off. Pike and Mbenga are back, and the Enterprise warps out just in time. In the aftermath, Spock begins synthesizing the chimera treatment for Batel. Mbenga is haunted and asks Pike if he's going to turn him in for killing the Klingon ambassador. Pike says there's no report to file. This was an off-the-books mission, and more importantly, that they are friends. Elsewhere, Una pulls Ortegas aside. She acknowledges Ortegas' skill, but warns her that disobeying orders cannot become a habit. She grounds her for 2 weeks and assigns her to the chain of command training. Ortegas is haunted by the Gorn in last episode, and was triggered by the Klingons in this one. Ortegas really isn't in good shape, and people are beginning to notice. The episode closes with Pike and Batel finally alone. He confronts her. Why didn't she tell him about the risk of becoming a hybrid? Her answer, well, it's heartbreaking. Because they know that she knew he had tried to stop her. And now, even knowing what that means, he can't deny it's her only chance. They embrace, frightened, uncertain, but together. Let's start with the Babbitts. There's a couple of things I didn't like. The first thing on my hit list is, what the hell is going on with Una's hair? God, I'm sorry. Costume and makeup, what are you? It looks hideous. Are we going to go through a Captain Janeway and she gets a new hairstyle every bloody episode? I mean, I think it's three different hairstyles in one season so far. Right.
I was hoping that it was like a callback to something, but I don't think it was. It just unacceptable.
I don't know. It just looked. I don't know. It just made her look weird.
It was distracting. Yeah. Because you're so used to not seeing her hair done that way. Like she always has it down or just pulled back.
Yeah.
And it was a stark transition. Now, did they intentionally do that because she was in the command seat? I don't know. But
maybe. But she's been in the command seat before. We've not had that.
Right. I don't think the ladies of Trek need their hair put up in some weird beehive bun thing
again, aren't we? Where we're going to start getting 36 different hairstyles in an episode.
And I'm pretty sure Kate Mulgrew would say, "Don't do it."
Absolutely. But that aside, I do feel that there were parts of this episode that were just slow. And I just felt the timing was a bit all over the place. We finally get, some real character development, some real nitty gritty, and then all of a sudden, here come a swarm of Klingbees.
Yes.
Which is now what I'm going to call them. Klingbees or Zomblons, one of the two. I think it's Klingbees.
I'm going to vote Klingbees. Yeah, I'm going to vote for that.
That's what they're going to be called from now on, Klingbees.
I enjoyed them, like that. This is what Star Trek Strange New Worlds is known for. They have this little campy bit to it in some way, whether that's through comedy like we had in Wedding Bell Blues, or in this situation where we have the zombie Klingbees. But what I feel they did is that we had these really big moments of character development and understanding and emotion and all the stuff, and then suddenly it was broken by
Klingbees.
The Klingbees. And
hordes of Klingbees that just come out in the middle of nowhere.
And I get the stark contrast, but it was just, normally I think what we saw in the first two episodes, like it was those were page turner episodes. We wanted and it really flowed next, into the next scene or next moment. Even if you were bouncing back and forth between, planets, ships, wherever. It really broke the moments. It broke that connectiveness. And I'm going to blame the Klingbees.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt that, look, as you said, Strange New Worlds is known for, breaking the kind of genre mold a little bit, aren't they?
Yeah,
and I think this week's genre was obviously, last week it was a bit more of a romantic comedy, and this week was horror. But I actually found the scenes on the Gorn ship way more horrifying than the Klingbees.
Yeah,
and
this just felt like the campy zombie horror movie, or if even you want to call it that, but zombie movies. They weren't even top tier. They were just they were devouring horde. That's what they wanted. That's what they lived for. And I get the whole scientific tie into it. It was very Star Trek. I get how they formed, but it just really broke up what is a very important storyline for many characters.
Yep, absolutely. So those were the bits we didn't like this week.
Hair and zombies.
Sorry?
Hair and zombies. So
hair and zombies, yes. Hair and Klingbees.
Klingbees, yeah.
Sounds like a fruit. I'll have a pound of Klingbees, please.
Don't order those wherever you go. Don't
they bite back. So things we liked this week. For me, we got to see a bit more of a vulnerable side to Pike, which I really enjoyed. The fact that we're kind of seeing him not necessarily at, not necessarily as captain, but as a person. And I really liked that. The fact that, he's all, at one point he turns around to Mbenga and says, "I'm not your captain. I'm your friend. Just tell me the truth." And that we haven't seen a lot of before. He has always been this very, we did a little bit at the beginning of season 1 after the events of, but that was kind of cut short. This time we really get to see this kind of caring, vulnerable side to him, which I really like, and I really want to see more of it.
Yeah, and I think it's not outside of his character by any means. Like, we've seen glimpses of it. We obviously got a little bit more insight into his personal side when, I'm terrible with titles, the singing episode of last season.
Subspace Rhapsody.
Thank you. So those were kind of like, we're getting this, there's another side to him. Yeah. And obviously when he's cooking in his quarters and having people over, he's a little bit more relaxed. But this was definitely there was a friendship between him and Mbenga and in history, and we got some insight into that in both characters, and really got to see more of his relationship with Batel. So I think, this was great for Pike. So I think the other thing is, just that whole storyline with Mbenga too. So
I love the storyline with Mbenga. That worked really well. It was nice to have that little bit in the shuttle together. You know, and we got to get a little bit of a backstory. You know, and Benga's had 3 ex-wives and 1 annulment. What that means, I have no. Does that mean that he's got 3 dead wives and 1 divorce?
Right. We don't know. There's more to learn about Mbenga, clearly.
You know,
but you know, the other thing was, you know, that friendship between. I mean, they were talking about fishing. They were trying to gossip a little bit about.
But the way they were talking about the fishing makes it sound like that it's something that they used to do regularly.
Yes. So there's a long-term relationship there, a friendship that goes beyond what we've seen, and I think this was a great episode for Mbenga, for us to get to know him a little bit better and see the people he cares about and the struggles he still has.
Absolutely. Well, hold that thought, because we're going to talk a bit more about Mbenga in a bit. The other things that I really enjoyed were makeup and production design this week were fantastic. The makeup design for the hordes of Klingbees was brilliant. It was really well done. There were a couple of little niggly bits I have on that. Occasionally you can just see in the background where, let's just say, the prosthetics aren't quite as detailed, so you can see the cutouts for their eyes.
Right.
But other than that, the rest of it was absolutely fantastic. Again, you know, okay, the AR wall is back, but they've done it properly. They've actually dressed the set really nicely. It was very difficult to you could only just tell, but it was really good. And again, Ortegas' arc is another thing I really like to see. You know, we've seen her through the emotions now, haven't we? We've seen her on death's door. We've seen her, you know, really struggling mentally, and now she's almost kind of got through that, but now she's in that kind of rebellious, I don't give a shit stage. So it's going to be interesting to see where that goes this season.
And we're only 3 episodes in, so I mean, that's pretty powerful stuff that's happening to this well-liked character.
Absolutely,
for fans. So I think it's really setting up a storyline where she's butting heads with this one thing that she has relied on her whole life, and that's Starfleet, and the people she's in the same crew with. Those are her family, essentially.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be an interesting ride to see how they play this for the rest of the season.
So every episode we have a standout, and I think this week's standout has to be Babs. You know, his character Mbenga, we really got to see that gritty side. We saw it last season with the flashbacks to the war, but with that we kind of got more of the field medic kind of, you know, really under the gun, that kind of that side to him. This time we got to see the more of the, again, vulnerable side to him in parts, but also the whole, I can stand up for myself, I'm more than happy to take on a Klingon. Which, let's face it, not a lot of Starfleet officers would do.
No, especially in this era where we're, you know, just post Klingon War, and that the Klingon name still brings forth a lot of feelings and a lot of concern for Starfleet and the Federation. So I do think that, you know, we did get to see a glimpse into his, you know, his connection still to the Klingons and what his internal struggles are as someone who fought in a war and now is, as a doctor, is committed to saving lives rather than taking lives. So quite a contrast there. But I also really enjoyed the very final scene with him and Pike, where Mbenga is basically so concerned about where he stands with his relationship with Pike. Yeah. Like, it's not about, is my job in jeopardy? You know, it's about, what do you think about my decisions I've made and the things you've learned in these events? And I think that was really telling, that, you know, we kind of see Mbenga as someone who kind of observes rather than gets in it. In this episode, he was fully in it. And no matter what the outcome, he was more concerned about what his friends thought of him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Than job. And I think that's just powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
I enjoyed it. Loved the arc.
Yeah, me too. So to recap, zombies in space, but let's face it, it's not quite horror. The episode leans into the horror theme with the zombie storyline, but the scares never really quite land. Whilst the makeup and VFX were strong, it lacked the tension of past Trek horror outings like Enterprise's Impulse, or even the Gorn scenes from episode 1 of this season. The zombies were more of a backdrop for character-driven stories rather than a kind of genre dive. And Benga's reflecting on his wartime past, and Chapel's dealing with lingering Gorn DNA, and Ortega's grappling with the trauma added, well, a lot of emotional weight. These kind of monsters within were far more compelling than, well, the actual monsters. Strong performances from Melissa Navia and Rebecca Romaine helped group the story, and Pike and Mbenga's dynamics brought welcome levity. The return of the Klingons post-war added some depth. Batel, a tragic figure trapped by her culture's rigid traditions, served as a foil for Mbenga and Pike's slightly more flexible, Starfleet-minded approach. The visual nods to TOS and TNG and Discovery Klingon lore were all done, though they reused that damn gold armor from Subspace Rhapsody and it felt out of place. It's not a K-pop band again. The alien jungle and the creepy lab were effectively realised without location shoots. The rooftop battle showcased the AR wall well. Whilst the zombies didn't truly frighten, the mix of human and Klingon infected was visually impressive. Not the scariest horror episode, but a solid mid-season entry focused on character development, and it sets up emotional arcs, especially Ortegas, whilst delivering some great performances and some decent world building. A tonal shift that mostly works. Thanks very much for tuning into this week's episode of 10 Forward. Remember, you can catch up with more of us at clonestarpodcast.com, and remember to like and subscribe to the channel that way, and click the little bell icon. That way you'll get notified when episode 4 drops next week. But until then, live long and prosper.